by Frankly Kawa. Being alone is a power. You see, we live in a world that teaches us to always be surrounded by noise, by people, by validation, by distractions. But let me tell you something. Being alone, that's not a weakness. It's a strength. It's a superpower. Because when the world quiets down, when it's just you, that's when you meet your truest self. Not the one shaped by opinions, not the one performing for approval, the real you. And oh, what a force you are. Being alone is not about isolation. It's about alignment. It's the space where dreams are born, where clarity whispers, where your spirit isn't competing for air. You want to know who you are? Sit in a room by yourself. No screens, no noise, just you. You'll hear the voice inside you that says, I am enough. Not because someone liked your post, not because you got invited to the party, but because you finally showed up for yourself. It's in solitude that we build our strength. It's where we learn to trust our gut, heal our wounds, and choose peace over approval. That kind of inner power, no one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. So the next time you feel alone, don't run from it. Lean into it. Own it. Because it's in that sacred space that you stop being who the world told you to be and start becoming everything you were born to be. Being alone isn't empty. It's full of power, full of truth, full of you. When we're constantly surrounded by people, expectations, and noise, it's easy to forget who we really are. We find ourselves mirroring the lives and behaviors of those around us, trying to fit into a mold that's not truly ours. The pressure to conform, to meet certain standards, or to be constantly validated can blur our sense of self. But here's the thing. Being alone is one of the most powerful ways to reconnect with your true self. In the quiet moments of solitude, you begin to peel away the layers you've accumulated over the years. You start to hear your own thoughts more clearly without the distraction of others' opinions or judgments. It's in this silence that you finally get to listen to the voice inside you, the one that has always been there, but was drowned out by the constant ha of the world. We often think that being alone means we're missing something, that we're incomplete. Society has made us believe that we should always be surrounded by friends, family, or social obligations to feel validated and whole. But when we choose to be alone, we create the opportunity for self-reflection and deep introspection. We stop looking outward for answers and instead turn inward, allowing ourselves the space to truly understand who we are beneath the surface. Alone time gives us the chance to reconnect with our passions, to rediscover the things that excite us and make us feel alive. It's in these moments of stillness that we can ask ourselves the tough questions. What do I truly want in life? What are my deepest desires? What do I need to let go of to become the person I'm meant to be? These aren't questions we can always answer when we're constantly in motion, surrounded by distractions or trying to please others. Solitude creates the perfect environment for these profound realizations to emerge. Think about it. In a world full of noise, we often find ourselves performing. We wear masks. We're constantly adapting to fit into the social or professional circles we find ourselves in. The person you are with your friends might not be the same person you are with your colleagues. And the person you are with your family might not be the same as the one you are when you're alone. But when you're by yourself, you don't have to perform. You can simply be. It's in this raw, unfiltered state that you meet your truest self. Without judgment, without expectation, just as you are. And when you do meet that person, the one who exists without the weight of others' approval or influence, you realize just how much power lies in that truth. Being alone allows you to reconnect with your innermost desires, your values, and the qualities that make you unique. It's only when you're not trying to be something for someone else that you can truly understand your worth and the infinite potential you carry within you. In those moments of solitude, you're also given the gift of self-compassion. We often don't realize how harshly we judge ourselves when we're surrounded by others. The desire to impress, to meet expectations, to be good enough can lead us to neglect our own well-being. But when you're alone, you can see yourself more clearly, not through the lens of others' approval, but through your own eyes. This clarity can bring about a sense of peace and acceptance that is often hard to find in the hustle and bustle of daily life. There's also a deeper, almost spiritual level to being alone. In solitude, you may discover parts of yourself you've neglected or overlooked. You might find yourself reconnecting with your passions, interests, and dreams. Things that once excited you but were pushed aside in favor of societal pressures or responsibilities. Solitude offers the opportunity to listen to your intuition and to trust the guidance that comes from within. The more you spend time alone, the more you learn to trust your inner voice, your instincts, and your heart's true desires. This is a journey of self-discovery that doesn't happen when we're constantly plugged into the world around us. It's not about escaping the world, but rather about creating space within it to connect with ourselves. And in this space, we gain the clarity to make better decisions, to set healthier boundaries, and to pursue the things that truly matter to us. Solitude becomes the foundation for a life that is authentic and aligned with our deepest values. Being alone, then, is not just about finding time away from others. It's about finding time for yourself, to reconnect with the essence of who you are and who you're becoming. It's about allowing yourself the freedom to be real, raw, and unapologetically you, without the pressure of conforming to anyone else's expectations. And it's in this space of authenticity that you find the power to truly shine, not because of what others think of you, but because of who you are at your core. So while the world may teach us that being surrounded by others is the key to fulfillment, the truth is that true fulfillment comes from within. And it's in the stillness of being alone that we finally hear the whispers of our soul guiding us toward the life we were always meant to lead. When you spend time alone, something remarkable happens. The world outside quiets down, and all of a sudden, you're left with yourself. No distractions, no noise, just you. And while this might feel uncomfortable at first, it is in fact the very thing that can help you build your inner strength. You see, in solitude, we are faced with our thoughts and emotions head on. There's nowhere to hide, no one to lean on. It's just you and the truth of who you are in that moment. And that can be terrifying, but also incredibly liberating. Because the more you sit with yourself, the more you realize that you have everything you need to navigate through the ups and downs of life. It's in these solitary moments that we discover how much strength we have within us. When you're by yourself, you don't have the comfort of others to turn to for reassurance or support. Instead, you are forced to rely on your own wisdom, intuition, and resilience. You begin to understand your true capacity for coping, for handling the challenges life throws your way, and for finding peace in the midst of chaos. And let's be real, life is not always easy. We all face hardships, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it's in these very moments, when you're alone, that you are given the opportunity to discover how strong you truly are. It's in solitude that you learn how to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. No one is there to hold your hand or tell you what to do. It's just you finding your own way, building your own resilience. The beauty of being alone is that it allows you to develop a deeper connection to your own strength. When you spend time in solitude, you begin to trust yourself more. You trust your decisions. You trust your ability to navigate challenges. You trust that no matter what life throws your way, you have the strength to get through it. It's this inner strength, built in the quiet, in the stillness, that will carry you through even the toughest of times. Now, this doesn't mean that solitude is always easy. In fact, it can be uncomfortable at times. When you're alone, you can't escape your thoughts. You can't distract yourself with external things. You are forced to confront your fears, your insecurities, and your doubts. But this confrontation is necessary for growth. It's in facing our vulnerabilities head on that we begin to build the strength to overcome them. There's a certain kind of peace that comes from knowing you are capable of standing on your own. When you spend time alone, you realize that you don't need anyone else to complete you or make you whole. You are whole on your own. And that realization, that's powerful. That's where true strength lies. But building inner strength isn't just about surviving difficult moments in isolation. It's also about creating a sense of peace that comes from being at home with yourself. In solitude, you learn to embrace the present moment, to find joy and contentment in your own company. You stop seeking validation from others, and instead, you learn to validate yourself. In today's world, we are constantly seeking approval. We look for likes on social media, compliments from our peers, and validation from society. But when you choose to be alone, you stop depending on external sources of approval. You begin to understand that true peace comes from within, and that you don't need anyone else's validation to feel good about yourself. This is one of the most empowering aspects of solitude. It teaches you to choose peace over approval. In the absence of external noise, you find the quiet, steady voice within you that says, you are enough. You are worthy. And it's in that voice, in that peace, that you begin to build a life that is authentic and fulfilling, not based on what others think, but on what you truly want and need. The more time you spend alone, the more you begin to realize that your worth is not determined by the opinions of others. You stop seeking constant affirmation, and instead, you learn to listen to your own heart. You begin to choose inner peace over the approval of others. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. This shift is transformative. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of life, constantly seeking external validation, always wondering what others think of us. But when you learn to find peace within yourself, when you learn to embrace solitude, you stop living for others and start living for yourself. You stop chasing after the approval of the world and start choosing a life that aligns with your true desires, values, and passions. In solitude, you stop letting the noise of the world drown out your own voice. You stop seeking permission, and instead, you give yourself the freedom to be who you are. And that, my friends, is where true peace and power lie. When you choose to embrace solitude and choose peace over approval, you unlock a strength within you that is unshakable. You become a force of nature, unstoppable and unwavering in your belief that you are enough, just as you are. And that's the kind of power that comes from within, not from the outside world, not from the validation of others, but from the deep, unshakable peace that comes when you're truly at home with yourself. It's a power that no one can take from you, because it's rooted in the truth of who you are. When we find ourselves constantly surrounded by others, the noise of their expectations, opinions, and judgments can easily drown out the whispers of our own thoughts. It's in the hustle of daily life, amidst the clamor for validation, acceptance, and approval, that we can lose sight of who we really are. But there is an extraordinary power in being alone. When you step away from the crowd, from the chaos, you find the space to reconnect with yourself. It's in solitude that we can hear our own voice, separate from the expectations and pressures of the world around us. At first, being alone might feel uncomfortable. It might feel like an empty void, a space that needs to be filled. But over time, you come to realize that it's not a void at all. It's a wellspring of strength. It's in these moments of solitude that we rediscover who we are at our core. Without the distractions of others, we are free to listen to the deeper parts of ourselves, the parts that hold our true desires, values, and dreams. Solitude offers us the gift of self-reflection. In these quiet moments, we can ask ourselves the questions that are often drowned out by the noise of the world. What do I truly want from life? What kind of person do I want to be? What are my deepest passions and desires? These questions are impossible to answer when we're constantly surrounded by others, distracted by external opinions and the pull of social expectations. It's in solitude that we can hear the truth of our own hearts without the interference of anyone else's voice. And this is where true power lies. Because when you truly know yourself, when you understand your own values and desires, you can walk through life with a sense of direction and purpose. You no longer feel the need to conform to others' expectations or live up to societal standards. You simply become the truest version of yourself. And this, knowing who you truly are, is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. It's only when you stop seeking approval from others and start embracing your authentic self that you unlock your true potential. When we're constantly surrounded by others, there's often little room for us to truly grow. Growth requires space, not just physical space, but mental and emotional space too. In solitude, we are forced to face ourselves without the comforting distractions of the world. This can be a daunting experience. The quietness amplifies the voices of our fears, our insecurities, and our doubts. But it's only by confronting these feelings head on that we can truly overcome them. Solitude is a crucible for personal growth. It's in these quiet moments that we're forced to reckon with our fears, acknowledge our vulnerabilities, and face the challenges that have been holding us back. But here's the beautiful thing about this process. When we face these fears and doubts, we realize that we have the strength to overcome them. And that in turn builds a deep sense of resilience and inner strength. When you're alone, you begin to understand just how capable you are. There's no one around to reassure you or tell you what to do. It's just you relying on your own wisdom and intuition to navigate through life. And as you grow through these moments, you start to trust yourself more. You begin to trust your decisions, your instincts, and your ability to face whatever comes your way. This inner strength, built in the quiet moments of solitude, becomes your foundation. It's this strength that will carry you through the toughest times in life. You begin to understand that no matter what challenges or obstacles you face, you are never truly alone. Because you carry within you the strength to stand on your own, to rise above, and to thrive. But perhaps one of the most transformative aspects of solitude is the way it teaches you to choose peace over approval. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with messages telling us to seek validation from others. Social media, advertising, and even our personal relationships can create a pressure to conform to certain ideals or seek constant affirmation. But when you spend time alone, you come to realize that this constant need for external validation is draining. The peace that comes from being alone is unlike any other. It's in solitude that you stop living for the approval of others and begin to live for yourself. You realize that your worth is not determined by likes on social media, by compliments from others, or by fitting into someone else's mold. Your worth comes from within. It comes from your unique qualities, your values, and your ability to live authentically. This shift is powerful. When you stop seeking approval from others, you begin to embrace your true self, unapologetically. You stop performing for the world and start living for yourself. The need to please others fades away, and in its place is a deep sense of peace and acceptance. You realize that you don't need anyone else's validation to feel whole. You are enough, just as you are. Choosing peace over approval doesn't mean you stop caring about others or their opinions. It means that you stop letting external validation dictate your sense of worth. It means you stop chasing after external praise or recognition, and instead you start finding fulfillment in your own sense of purpose and authenticity. You begin to choose peace, a peace that comes from knowing who you are and being comfortable with yourself over the constant need for approval and affirmation. This peace is empowering. It allows you to live a life that is truly yours. You start making decisions based on what aligns with your values and desires, not based on what others expect from you. You no longer measure your success by the standards set by the outside world, but by the happiness and fulfillment you find within. And in doing so, you unlock a freedom and a sense of power that is unshakable. When you embrace solitude, you not only connect with your true self, but you also build an inner strength and peace that is unmatched. These moments of quiet are not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to your resilience, your authenticity, and your ability to stand strong in your own truth. In today's world, we are surrounded by noise. Everywhere we turn, there are people with their opinions, expectations, and judgments. Social media feeds bombard us with images of success, beauty, and happiness, creating a constant pull toward comparison. In this fast-pacing, interconnected world, it's easy to forget who we are beneath all the layers we accumulate over time. But it's in solitude, when we step away from all of that we are given the chance to reconnect with our true selves. In these quiet moments, we can reflect, listen to our inner voice, and uncover who we truly are beyond the noise of the world. Solitude is not just a physical state of being alone, but a powerful tool for self-discovery. When we are alone, we no longer have the distractions or the external influences that so often shape our identities. In the absence of others' opinions, we are free to truly explore our own thoughts, desires, and values. The pressure to conform to societal expectations fades, and we are left with a blank canvas, an opportunity to rediscover what makes us unique. Solitude offers the space to ask the tough questions. What do I really want in life? What are my true desires? What do I value most? These are questions that often get buried under the weight of everyday life. Yet in the stillness of solitude, we have the opportunity to confront them without fear of judgment or interruption. This process of self-reflection is where the true power of solitude lies. It's only when we are truly alone with ourselves that we can face the truth of who we are. We stop playing roles for others, stop pretending to be someone we're not, and we stop seeking approval from the outside world. Instead, we embrace our authentic selves. We discover the passions and dreams that we may have buried or forgotten. We reconnect with the parts of us that have been overshadowed by others' expectations. And in doing so, we gain a deeper understanding of who we are at our core. And in that understanding, we find our strength. As we sit with ourselves in solitude, we realize something else. Being alone allows us to face our fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities head on. Many of us spend our lives running from uncomfortable emotions, distractions, and situations. But in the quiet of solitude, there's nowhere to run. It's just us and our inner world. At first, this may seem intimidating, even overwhelming. The silence can feel deafening, and the thoughts and feelings we've been avoiding can resurface. But here's the thing. It's only by confronting these parts of ourselves that we can heal and grow. It's in solitude that we find the space to process our emotions, let go of the past, and build a healthier, stronger sense of self. Facing our fears and insecurities in solitude allows us to build inner strength. When we're not surrounded by others, we are forced to rely on ourselves. We learn to trust our own instincts, our own judgment, and our own ability to navigate the challenges life throws at us. We begin to understand that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way, not because we have external support, but because we have everything we need within ourselves. Solitude teaches us that we are enough, just as we are. And with that realization comes an unshakable strength. Another profound benefit of being alone is the ability to choose peace over approval. In a world where external validation is often the measure of our success, solitude provides the perfect antidote. It's easy to get caught up in seeking approval from others, whether it's through social media likes, compliments, or the approval of our peers, colleagues, or family. But when we embrace solitude, we learn to find peace within ourselves rather than looking outward for confirmation. The desire for approval is a powerful force. It drives many of our actions and decisions, often pushing us to compromise our true selves in order to fit in or be accepted. But when we choose to spend time alone, we create space for inner peace to flourish. We begin to understand that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. It's not about how many people like us, follow us, or agree with us. Our worth is inherent, rooted in who we are, not in what others think of us. Solitude allows us to reconnect with this inner truth, to embrace our individuality, and to choose peace over the constant need for approval. In solitude, we stop living for the validation of others. We stop measuring our success based on external standards, and we start defining success on our own terms. We begin to understand that peace comes from within, from being true to ourselves, from making choices that align with our values, and from living authentically. This shift is incredibly freeing. We no longer feel the need to perform or pretend. We don't need to be anything for anyone else. Instead, we can simply be ourselves, content in the knowledge that we are enough. Choosing peace over approval also means letting go of the fear of judgment. We stop worrying about what others think, and instead, we focus on living in a way that feels true and right for us. We stop comparing ourselves to others and start appreciating our unique qualities. This peace is not passive. It's a powerful force that enables us to navigate life with confidence, knowing that our worth is not dependent on the approval of others. It's a peace that comes from within, from the realization that we are capable, strong, and deserving of all the good things life has to offer, just as we are. In moments of solitude, we realize that we don't need to chase after validation or approval to feel complete. We already are complete. Solitude offers the chance to embrace who we are, free from judgment, free from comparison, and free from the need to prove ourselves. And in this acceptance, we discover a profound sense of power, confidence, and peace. In the modern world, the idea of being alone is often misunderstood. Many people view solitude as something to be avoided, a space that can only feel empty and unfulfilling. We are constantly surrounded by people, technology, and distractions, always looking for validation, connection, and approval. But there is power in being alone. In solitude, we are given the opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, to understand who we truly are, and to find the inner strength that lies dormant within. Being alone does not mean being lonely. It means having the space to grow, reflect, and build the kind of strength that can withstand any challenge that life presents. When we're constantly surrounded by others, it becomes easy to lose sight of who we are. We are constantly influenced by the opinions and expectations of the people around us. Social media, friends, family, colleagues. They all have something to say about how we should live our lives. In the midst of all this external noise, it's easy to forget what truly matters to us. It's easy to forget our passions, our desires, and the values that define who we are. Solitude gives us the time and space to rediscover ourselves, to step away from the pressures of the world, and to simply be. In these quiet moments, we can hear our own voice, separate from the noise of others. This process of self-reflection is a vital part of personal growth. When we embrace solitude, we give ourselves the gift of self-discovery. There's a difference between being alone and truly being with yourself. When we are alone, we can finally stop pretending to be what others expect of us. We no longer need to conform to the ideas and ideals that others have set for us. Instead, we can listen to the deeper parts of ourselves, the parts that we often suppress or ignore. Solitude allows us to ask the tough questions. What do I truly want in life? What are my deepest desires? What makes me happy, fulfilled, and at peace? These are the questions that often get buried in the noise of daily life. But when we're alone, we have the chance to dig deep, to reflect on what truly matters, and to align our lives with our most authentic self. This process of self-reflection, though sometimes uncomfortable, is where the true power of being alone lies. It's not about being selfish or avoiding the world, but rather about taking the time to truly understand who you are without the influence of others. It's about tuning into your own needs, your own desires, and your own dreams. It's in these moments of stillness that we discover the strength we need to pursue our goals and aspirations, unencumbered by the fear of judgment or failure. When we know ourselves intimately, we are empowered to make choices that align with our true values and live a life that feels meaningful and authentic. Another powerful aspect of being alone is that it provides us with the space to confront our fears and insecurities. Many of us spend our lives running from our deepest fears. We distract ourselves with work, relationships, and social engagements, always avoiding the uncomfortable feelings that lurk beneath the surface. But in solitude, we have nowhere to run. We are forced to face our fears head on. And while this can feel uncomfortable at first, it is ultimately a transformative experience. Solitude forces us to sit with our thoughts, to confront our vulnerabilities, and to work through the emotions we've been avoiding. It's in these moments of discomfort that we learn the most about ourselves. By facing our fears and insecurities in solitude, we build resilience. We begin to understand that we are capable of handling whatever challenges life throws our way. When we are alone, we have to rely on ourselves for strength, guidance, and support. This process of self-reliance builds a deep sense of confidence and inner power. We realize that we are not weak or vulnerable, but strong and resourceful. Solitude teaches us that we can weather any storm, as long as we trust in ourselves and our abilities. It's not about avoiding difficulty, but about embracing it and learning to rise above it. Over time, this practice of confronting our fears and building resilience becomes second nature, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with grace and confidence. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons of solitude is that it teaches us to choose peace over the constant need for approval. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in seeking validation from others. We live in a society that often measures our worth by external standards. How many likes we get on social media, how successful we are in our careers, or how much we fit into societal norms. But when we spend time alone, we learn that our worth is not determined by the approval of others. In solitude, we reconnect with the truth that our value comes from within. It's not about fitting into someone else's idea of success. It's about defining success on our own terms. And in this realization, we find peace. Solitude allows us to break free from the chains of external validation. When we stop seeking approval, we start living for ourselves. We no longer measure our worth by how others perceive us or by how many people agree with our choices. Instead, we begin to define our own success based on what truly matters to us. We learn to trust ourselves, to make decisions that align with our values, and to let go of the need for external affirmation. This shift in mindset is incredibly freeing. We no longer feel the need to perform or please others. Instead, we find peace in the knowledge that we are enough, just as we are. Ultimately, the power of being alone lies in its ability to help us reconnect with ourselves, face our fears, build resilience, and choose peace over approval. Solitude is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a gift, a powerful tool for self-discovery and personal growth. When we embrace solitude, we unlock a deeper understanding of who we are, what we want, and how we can live authentically. It's in these quiet moments, free from the noise of the world, that we discover the strength, peace, and power that we carry within ourselves. By learning to embrace our own company, we are better equipped to navigate the challenges of life, live with intention, and ultimately thrive in a world that often demands conformity. Focus on yourself and stay silent. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with something simple, yet life-changing. Not everything demands your voice, and not everyone deserves your energy. There comes a time in your journey when the noise outside, opinions, judgments, gossip, the endless chatter of the world starts drowning out the quiet wisdom within you. That's when you know it's time to go inward. It's time to focus on yourself. See, there's a sacred power in silence, not the silence of fear, not the silence of shame, but the silence of strength, of clarity, of healing. When you start focusing on yourself, your growth, your peace, your vision, things begin to shift. You stop seeking validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't even try to understand you. And you begin to realize you don't need to be loud to be powerful. Let me tell you this. The most transformational seasons of your life will happen when no one is watching, when you're doing the inner work, when you're breaking generational patterns, rewriting your story, learning to love yourself again, not for applause, but for freedom. Yes, people will talk. Let them. People will question your silence. Let them. Because while they're watching, you're working. While they're speculating, and when it's time to speak, your life will speak for you. You owe it to yourself to protect your energy, to guard your mind, to focus so deeply on your own path that the distractions fall away. So I say to you, Be quiet, be bold, be focused, water your own garden, and stop explaining your flowers to those who never cared to plant their own. Your growth is not up for discussion. Your peace is not a debate. Focus on yourself, stay silent, and rise absolutely. There's a quiet kind of power that most people overlook. We live in a world that rewards noise, loud opinions, quick responses, fast comebacks. But I want to talk to you about something different, something deeper, something many don't understand until they've been through the fire and come out wiser on the other side. I want to talk about silence. Not the kind that makes you feel small, but the kind that reminds you just how powerful you really are. You see, silence, true silence, is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's not submission. It is one of the most profound expressions of strength a human being can possess. When you have every reason to speak, every reason to fight back, to defend yourself, to respond, and you choose instead to stay centered, to stay still, that is not passivity, that is mastery. Because let me tell you something real. Anybody can react. Anybody can raise their voice. But it takes real courage to pause. It takes real strength to breathe through the chaos and say to yourself, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. There was a time in my life when I thought my power came from my ability to respond, to clap back, to show people I wasn't to be messed with. But I realized over time that all that reacting was draining me. It was taking pieces of me that I should have been using to build, to grow, to heal. I was spending too much energy trying to be understood by people who were never meant to understand me. That's when I learned the power of silence. The kind of silence that doesn't shrink you but elevates you. That doesn't hide your truth but protects it. That doesn't deny who you are but preserves it. Because not everyone is worthy of your truth. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your heart. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your soul is to hold it close and stay silent. You don't need to respond to every criticism. You don't have to explain your path to anyone who didn't walk it with you. You don't need to justify your peace, your growth, your healing, your boundaries. The moment you truly understand that is the moment you step into a new kind of freedom. People will test you. Life will test you. But your response doesn't always need to be loud. Some of the strongest messages you'll ever send will come through your silence. The silence that says, I've outgrown this. The silence that says, I'm not going to lower my vibration to meet someone else's chaos. The silence that says, I know who I am and I don't need your approval to keep being her. Let me be clear, silence doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're ignoring reality. It means you're choosing peace over chaos. It means you're wise enough to know that not every battle is yours to fight. That not every fire deserves your fuel. That sometimes the best response is no response. And let's be honest, there's a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than any words ever could. It's the silence of someone who is focused, who is evolving, who is protecting their spirit. That kind of silence, that's sacred. We spend so much of our lives trying to be seen, trying to be heard. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the deeper work, the transformational work, that happens in silence, when it's just you and your thoughts, you and your pain, you and your healing, you and your dreams. That's where the real growth begins. So if you're in a season where you feel quiet, where you're not as loud, not as visible, not as vocal. Don't mistake that for weakness. Don't let anyone make you feel small for choosing your peace. You're not retreating, you're resetting. You're not hiding, you're healing. You're not backing down, you're rising up. Quietly, powerfully, in your own divine timing. Let the world talk, let them wonder, let them misunderstand. You just keep doing your work. Keep protecting your energy. Keep focusing on what really matters. And trust, absolutely trust, that when it's time, your results will speak so loudly you won't have to, because silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. It's full of clarity. It's full of power. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing at all. There is a sacred moment in every life when you realize it's time to turn inward, to shift your gaze away from the distractions of the outside world and begin tending to the inner world that's been quietly calling your name. The world tells us to hustle, to chase, to compete, to compare, but your soul just wants you to grow. Not for applause, not for validation, but for peace, for alignment, for truth. Focusing on your own growth is not selfish, it is necessary. It is survival. It is the foundation of everything beautiful and lasting you will ever create in this life. Because here's what no one tells you. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot heal others if you're still bleeding. And you cannot show up for the world fully if you have yet to show up for yourself. We spend so much of our energy looking outward, scrolling through highlight reels, watching what others are doing, worrying about what people might think, trying to catch up or keep up or get ahead. And somewhere in that race, we forget the most important question of all. How am I doing with me? Growth begins the moment you stop asking, who's watching me, and start asking, what do I need to work on within me? Because the truth is, the work no one sees is the work that changes everything. The private discipline, the healing that happens behind closed doors, the tough conversations you have with yourself when no one is around. That is the soil where real transformation begins. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to convince anyone that you're working on yourself. Just do it. Quietly, consistently, patiently. And I promise you, your growth will become visible in ways words never could. There will be seasons when you outgrow people, places, and patterns. It will feel uncomfortable. It will feel lonely, but it will also feel right. Because when you're growing, you begin to feel the friction between who you've been and who you're becoming. And you must be brave enough to choose the becoming, even if it means leaving some things behind. It takes courage to focus on yourself in a world that's constantly pulling at you. Courage to say, I'm not going to chase anymore. I'm going to build. I'm not going to perform for people. I'm going to become who I was meant to be. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's you finally choosing your purpose over your need to please. And yes, growth is messy. It's uncomfortable. It's humbling. Sometimes it feels like breaking before it feels, but don't let the discomfort fool you. That's just your old self fighting for survival while your new self is being born. Let the old fall away. Let the new emerge. Keep showing up for yourself, even on the days it doesn't feel like it's working. Because the compound effect of daily inner work, that's unstoppable. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Present with your truth. Present with your flaws. Present with your progress, however small it may seem. Because even a small step forward in your own growth is more powerful than 100 steps in the wrong direction trying to follow someone else's path. Your growth won't always be visible to others. And that's okay. It's not meant to be. Not in the beginning. Some things need to be protected while they are still delicate. Some healing needs to happen in silence. Some breakthroughs are too sacred to broadcast. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to retreat from the noise so you can rise with purpose. This is your life, your evolution, your becoming, and you get to move through it at your own divine pace. Don't rush your dreams because someone else's timeline. Don't shrink your dreams because someone else couldn't see them. And please don't let the fear of being misunderstood stop you from doing the inner work. The people who are meant for you, who are aligned with your path, they will feel your growth long before they hear about it. So keep planting, keep watering, keep pruning. You may not see the fruit yet, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's unseen, but it is always worth it. And one day when you've done the work, when you've stayed the course, when you've honored your journey, you'll look back and realize that the most important thing you ever did was focus on yourself and grow, even when no one else understood why. Because that quiet, steady growth, that's the foundation of a life you won't need to escape from. A life that reflects not just who you are, but who you are always meant to become. There is something deeply powerful about restraint, about resisting the urge to explain yourself, to defend your choices, to prove your worth. We live in a world where everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be seen. And while there's nothing wrong with that, there is a deeper kind of influence. One that doesn't come from how loudly you speak, but from how clearly you live. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed. You don't have to argue for your growth, your healing, your journey. Let your life speak for you. There's a stillness in that truth, a maturity, a quiet, unshakable confidence that says, I know who I am, and that's enough. That kind of confidence isn't loud. It's not showy. It doesn't need applause because it's rooted in self-awareness, in alignment, in purpose. And here's what's truly liberating. When you let your life do the talking, you free yourself from the exhausting need to seek approval. You stop bending and breaking just to be accepted. You stop trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for you in the first place. People will always have something to say. They'll question your silence. They'll misunderstand your boundaries. They'll talk about your transformation like it happened overnight, not realizing it took years of invisible effort. Let them talk. You have nothing to prove. Your job is not to manage their perception of you. Your job is to walk in truth. You don't need to post it to prove it. You don't need to announce it to validate it. When your intentions are pure and your actions align with your values, the results will speak volumes. And the people who need to see it will. There's a beautiful peace that comes when you stop performing and start living. When you stop trying to explain your every move and just let your growth unfold in real time. Because words can be misunderstood, misquoted, twisted, but your life, your energy, your presence, your results, those are undeniable. When people see that you no longer respond to chaos, that you've stopped explaining your boundaries, that you've withdrawn from proving your point, they'll begin to notice something else. Your consistency will speak. Your progress will speak. And those things, those unspoken truths, will echo louder than any defense you could have ever offered. We spend so much of our lives trying to be understood by people who aren't even listening, people who only hear what they want, people who are committed to misunderstanding us. But growth teaches you something priceless. Not everyone deserves access to your truth. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your story. And that's okay. Because your story is sacred. Your journey is sacred. And sometimes the best way to honor it is to keep moving forward without the need to narrate every step. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them make their own assumptions. You keep building, keep healing, keep showing up for yourself, because one day the same people who question your silence will look up and realize you didn't disappear. You were simply busy becoming everything you were meant to be. You were planting, watering, growing quietly, faithfully, powerfully. And when the fruit of that growth begins to bloom, when the doors open, when the peace becomes permanent, when the blessings become undeniable, you won't need to say a word. Your life will be the testimony. Your energy will be the announcement. Your joy will be the evidence. You are never meant to live for applause. You are meant to live in truth. And the truth doesn't need to be shouted to be real. It just needs to be lived. Day by day, breath by breath, choice by choice. So if you're tired of explaining yourself, of justifying your decisions, of trying to be understood, take a breath. Step back and trust this. The life you're building will speak louder than anything you could ever say. And it will speak to the right people at the right time in the right way. You're not behind. You're not invisible. You're not unheard. You're simply growing in silence. And there is nothing more powerful than that. Let your life speak. There comes a time in your life when you have to realize not everyone deserves access to you. Your time, your energy, your presence, your light, they are precious, sacred. And you were not put on this earth to be everything to everyone, to carry people who are unwilling to carry themselves, to shrink just so others feel comfortable in your presence. You are allowed to protect your space. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to walk away from what no longer feels aligned. That is not rudeness. That is not selfishness. That is self-respect. And self-respect is not optional. It is essential. There's something incredibly freeing about knowing that you don't owe everyone access to your spirit. You don't have to respond to every message, return every call, attend every gathering, or explain every boundary. Because when you grow, truly grow, you begin to see people clearly. You begin to notice who pours into you and who only comes to take. You begin to feel the subtle shift in your body when a space is no longer safe, when a conversation no longer feeds you, when a connection has run its course. And when you feel it, you must honor it. Because here's what happens when you don't. You start to lose yourself trying to hold on to people who were never meant to stay. You start to question your worth based on how others treat you. You start to silence your needs just to maintain peace in relationships that thrive on your silence. But peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of truth. And the truth is, not everyone can go where, not everyone can grow with you. Some people only knew the version of you that tolerated too much, gave too freely, loved without boundaries. And when you change, when you evolve, they will resist that shift. They will try to pull you back into the version of yourself that made them comfortable. you must resist that pull, because you didn't come this far to start betraying yourself again. You didn't do all this inner work just to fall back into old patterns. This is your season to protect your peace, your energy, your mind. And sometimes that means stepping away from people who feel familiar but no longer feel right. Let them go. Not with bitterness, not with drama, just with grace and finality. You are not required to keep people in your life just because you've known them for a long time. Time doesn't equal loyalty. Proximity doesn't equal love. You can love someone deeply and still realize they're not good for your growth. You can wish someone well and still decide they no longer have a seat at your table. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And clarity is a gift. You begin to see that your energy is currency, and not everyone can afford the cost of your presence. So you start investing differently. You stop pouring into one-sided connections. You stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop hoping that your goodness will eventually make someone treat you right. Because the truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you tolerate, by the boundaries you do or do not enforce. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not too distant. You are just someone who has learned the value of your own spirit, and now you're choosing to guard it, to protect it, like the treasure it is. There is a different kind of strength that comes when you realize your worth is not up for debate, that you don't have to overextend yourself to be loved, that you don't need to earn your place in someone else's life. You are already enough, already worthy, already whole. And when you move from that truth, you attract differently. You attract people who honor your boundaries, who match your energy, who bring peace instead of chaos, who see you not just for what you do, but for who you are. So don't be afraid to close the door on people who drain you. Don't be afraid to choose solitude over forced connection. Don't be afraid to stand in your power and say, I am no longer available for anything that costs me my peace, because not everyone deserves access to you. You are not for everyone. And that's the most liberating truth of all. If this doesn't motivate you, nothing will. You know, you have been through things people wouldn't believe if you told them. You've cried silent tears in the dark. You've smiled when your heart was breaking. You've kept walking when the weight on your shoulders felt unbearable. And yet, you're still here. That's not just survival, that's strength. Now, I want you to pause and feel that. You didn't come this far to stop. You didn't overcome what tried to break you just to settle. You are here reading this, listening to this, because something deep inside you still believes there's more. And you're right, there is. But listen to me, no one is coming to save you. Not the perfect moment, not the perfect job, not the perfect partner. You are the hero. You always have been. The truth is, every excuse you've made, every delay, every doubt, it's not because you're weak, because you forgot who you are. You are powerful, you are necessary, you are one decision away from a completely different life. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped shrinking yourself to fit in? What if you stopped waiting for permission and gave yourself the freedom to show up fully, unapologetically as the person you were born to be? There is something only you can bring to this world. Your voice, your vision, your story, your truth. And somebody, somewhere, is waiting for exactly what you carry. So no, this isn't just another feel-good speech. This is a call to action. Stop scrolling. Start showing up. Start wishing. Start building. Start moving. Because your future is not written in the stars. It's written in your choices, in your courage, in your consistency. And if that doesn't motivate you, nothing will. You've been through more than people know, more than you let on, and probably more than you even give yourself credit for. Somewhere along the way, you convinced yourself that it wasn't a big deal. The way you carried on after being hurt. The way you kept showing up when everything inside you wanted to quit. But let me tell you something. That was a big deal. That is strength, real strength. Not the kind that comes from lifting weights or shouting the loudest. I'm talking about quiet strength. The kind that endures. The kind that holds you together when everything else is falling apart. You've cried, maybe in silence. You've struggled, maybe alone, and still you kept going. That matters. That's powerful. That's something to honor. Sometimes we look at other people and think they're so strong. They've got it all together, but you don't know the weight they carry. And they don't know yours. So stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. Start recognizing what it's taken for you to get here. Every step you've taken, every time you picked yourself up off the floor, it all matters. There have been moments you didn't think you'd make it, be honest. Maybe you thought it was over. Maybe it felt like there was no way forward. Maybe life knocked the wind out of you so hard you forgot how to breathe. But somehow, you did. You figured it out. You held on. You survived. And that survival, that was not weakness. That was your strength showing up for you when you needed it most. And yet you rarely stopped to reflect on it. You rarely stopped to say, I made it through that. But you should. Because remembering what you've survived reminds you of what you're capable of. You didn't just get lucky. You didn't just stumble forward. You made choices. You made sacrifices. You made progress, even when it felt like you were walking through mud. Too often, we downplay our resilience. We're so focused on where we want to be that we forget to acknowledge how far we've come. But the version of you 5 years ago would be amazed by the you standing here today. Even if you feel like you're not where you should be, even if it's not perfect, you've grown. You've matured. You've endured. That is no small thing. You see, strength isn't just about being unshakable. It's about rising again after being shaken. It's about choosing hope when fear is easier. Choosing love when pain tempts you to shut down. Choosing faith when the path ahead isn't clear. Strength is in the daily decision to keep believing in a better tomorrow, even when today is heavy. You don't need to shout to prove your strength. You don't need to perform. Your survival is your testimony. Your story is your proof. And no one can take that from you. People might try to define you by your struggles, but they'll miss the miracle if they overlook your strength. Think back to your hardest moments, the days that broke your heart. Now, ask yourself, who got you through that? Who kept you standing? It was you. It was your strength. It was your inner fire. It might have flickered, but it never went out. You owe it to yourself to remember that fire. Because the next time life tests you, and it will, you need to remember you faced darkness before and you found your light. You felt lost before and still found your way. You've bent under pressure, but you didn't break. And every time you thought you couldn't go any further, you did. So the next time you doubt yourself, remind yourself, you're still here. You didn't survive all that to be average. You didn't come through the fire to shrink yourself now. You've already proven your strength. Now it's time to stop surviving and start thriving. Because when you truly understand what you've overcome, you stop asking, can I do this? And start saying, I've done this before, and I can do it again. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are human, and you are powerful. Let that truth sink in. Let's be real for a moment. There's this quiet myth we carry, maybe not consciously, but deep down, that someone or something is going to come along and change everything for us. A moment, a person, a breakthrough, that magical opportunity where everything finally lines up, where all the confusion disappears and you finally become the person you're supposed to be. But here's the truth, and it's not always easy to hear. No one is coming to save you. Not because people don't love you, not because you aren't worthy of support, but because the person you've been waiting for is already here. It's you. You are the one. You are the answer. You are the rescue. The sooner you accept that, the sooner everything changes. Because once you stop waiting for life to shift and start realizing you have the power to shift it, that's when your story starts to evolve. Not when you meet the right partner, not when someone finally gives you permission, not when circumstances are perfect, but when you decide, I'm done waiting. I'm ready to become everything I was meant to be. Look at your life. Really look. Every single turning point you've had came because you made a decision. You chose to leave or to stay, to speak up or to hold your ground, to try one more time, even when you were tired. That wasn't chance. That wasn't fate stepping in. That was you stepping up. And you need to give yourself credit for that. It's so easy to say, I'll be ready when things settle down, or I'll go after it when I have more support. But what if you stopped waiting? What if you acted as if you were already the version of you that you admire? What if you trusted that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is action? Because let's be honest, life isn't going to slow down and hand you clarity. The world doesn't owe us perfect timing. But it does respond to people who take ownership of their lives. And when you start showing up for yourself, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard, when it's uncertain, when no one's clapping, that's when the momentum builds. You become unstoppable the moment you stop outsourcing your power. Think about all the times you've handed your worth to someone else's opinion, all the times you waited for someone to validate your dreams or prove you were good enough. You don't need their permission. You never did. Your value was never up for a vote. You are not here to live according to someone else's version of enough. You get to define that for yourself. It's not about having all the answers. It's not about being fearless. It's about having the courage to begin, even if your voice shakes, even if you're not sure how it ends, because heroes don't wait for the perfect conditions. They rise in the middle of the storm. You are that hero, even if you don't feel like it yet. Start acting like the main character in your life, not the background role, not the supporting cast, the lead, the one who chooses how this story unfolds from here. And that doesn't mean it'll be easy. It means it'll be yours. Fully, completely, unapologetically yours. There will be setbacks, there will be detours. But when you're the one driving, you don't give up just because the road gets rough. You adjust. You grow. You move. So today, not tomorrow, not someday, today is the day you stop waiting. Waiting for the right mood, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to believe in you. Believe in yourself right now, because you're not fragile. You're not helpless. You're not stuck. You are capable of far more than you've allowed yourself to become. You have the wisdom, the grit, the heart. Everything you need is already within you. You just have to be brave enough to access it. You don't need a sign. You don't need a miracle. You need a decision to take one small step, to choose yourself, to stop shrinking, to stop hesitating, to take responsibility, not with shame, but with power, with ownership, with the realization that this life is yours to shape. You have one life, one shot, no do-overs, no waiting room, and you are not meant to spend it watching others live while you sit on the sidelines hoping something will shift. You are the shift. You are the one who decides what happens next. And if you can let that truth settle in your bones, if you can carry it with you, there will be no limit to what you can become. You may not see it yet, but what you carry inside you is rare. It's one of a kind. And whether you've been told that 1,000 times or never once, you need to hear it now. There is no one like you. Not now, not ever. Your voice, your story, your perspective, it cannot be replicated. No one else has lived your life. No one has your exact mix of experiences, heartbreaks, passions, insights, and dreams. That combination is your magic. That's your fingerprint on the world. And yet for so long, you've probably been taught to tone it down, to be more this, less that, to edit yourself until you fit into a version of success, beauty, or intelligence that someone else defined. You were taught to shrink so you wouldn't make others uncomfortable. You were told to quiet your fire so you wouldn't come off as too much. But here's the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were made to stand out. You're not here to be a copy of someone else's greatness. You're here to be the original version of your own. That's what people are hungry for. Not more perfection, not more filters, not more of the same, but real. People are desperate for authenticity, for honesty, for someone to stand up and say, this is who I am, flaws, fire, and all. And when you have the courage to be that person, you give others permission to do the same. You don't have to have 1 million followers or a polished resume to make a difference. You just have to show up as you are right now, because there is someone out there who needs exactly what you bring: your presence, your energy, your truth, your compassion, your weirdness, your wisdom, your humor, your story. You may not know their name, you may never meet them, but you can shift someone's world just by being fully yourself. And the saddest thing you could ever do is hide all of that because you were afraid of not being liked. Yes, some people won't understand you, some won't get it. That's okay, they're not meant to. Your job isn't to be understood by everyone. Your job is to be true to yourself, and in doing so, attract the people who were always meant to find you. Because when you water yourself down, you don't just rob the world, you rob yourself. You rob yourself of the freedom to live fully. You rob yourself of the connections, the joy, the impact that only come when you show up as your whole self. And I get it, it's scary. It's easier to wear a mask. It's safer to fit the mold. But safe won't change lives. Safe won't fulfill your soul. Safe will keep you small when you were born to be expansive. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be polished to be worthy. You don't need to be famous to be impactful. You just need to be real. You know those things about you that make you different? The parts you used to hide, the quirks you thought were flaws? Those might be your greatest gift. The exact thing you've been trying to cover up could be the key to unlocking someone else's breakthrough. When you speak your truth, someone hears their own voice for the first time. When you share your story, someone finds their healing in it. When you step into your calling, someone finds the courage to chase theirs. That's the ripple effect of being yourself. You want to motivate the world? Don't just post a quote. Live a light that reflects your truth. You want to be a light? Then stop dimming yours. Turn it up. Let people see what raw, imperfect, beautiful authenticity looks like. Because that is what changes people. That is what wakes people up. Not perfection, not pretending, but realness. You were born with something that no one else can offer. And if you don't give it to the world, it will never exist. Let that sink in. You don't need to become more. You need to remember who you already are. You need to reclaim the parts of yourself that you were told to quiet. You need to recognize that you are already whole, already enough, already powerful. You don't need fixing. You need permission from yourself to shine. So stop asking, who am I to do this? And start saying, who am I not to? Because someone somewhere is waiting for exactly what only you can give. And if you hide now, they may never find it. You are the message. You are the example. You are the one. Let the world feel you absolutely.